Hello, dear. It's Heather, and you're watching Save Today with Heather J. I'm somebody who has spent her entire adult life living paycheck to paycheck and being one life event away from financial crisis. I have created this budget and this channel as a way to get out of that rut and create a brighter financial future for myself. I'm not a professional. I'm just somebody who is trying desperately to make a change in her own life. Because I'm not a professional, you will see me making a lot of mistakes, and some of those mistakes I'm likely to repeat again and again and again. If you're looking for a how-to video, if you're looking for a professional, if you are looking for real financial advice, this is not the place for that, and you should probably continue searching. And again, because I'm not a professional, in the very same breath, I ask you to please be kind when you see me making those mistakes over and over and over again. I am not a professional, and things are not going to always go well. So that's who I am. That's what I'm about. And if you're okay with that, please join us on this journey as we see where the future goes. Today's video is my paycheck, or not, my week number 4 flexible spending overview for September. My months do not coincide really very well with the regular calendar months because I get paid every other Friday and my rent is due on the first of the month, and because those two things have to coincide, that means that my first of the month is not really the first of the month. So for me, week 4 in September is September 15th to September 21st. So we're going to go over my flexible spending that happened during that week. And for me, when I'm tracking my flexible spending, this is my groceries, dining out, transportation, art, and miscellaneous. These are the areas where I have the greatest control on my spending, and these are the areas where I do my greatest damage in my flexible in my budget. I can choose which grocery stores I go to. Some of them will cost significantly more than other options. I can choose whether I do or do not spend money in my art. And when I get in the craft stores, I get a lot of motivation, a lot of ideas and excitement, and I oftentimes will spend things for the art and for the positivity that brings without any real attention as to the impact that might be having on my budget. So those are the things I'm tracking, and those are some of the reasons why I'm tracking that. This week, there was not a whole lot of spending. We'll go into what those are. On the 15th, in the groceries category, I went to Walmart and I spent $27.69. I'm honestly not 100% certain what I bought on the 15th. I am not really in the habit of tracking and memorizing the things that I buy and bring home with me. And I don't know that it really adds much to the channel to list out, I bought milk, I bought cheese, I bought chicken. So I haven't really made an effort to try and track that. If you guys feel like somehow that's beneficial to you on the receiving end watching this, can you let me know, and I'll see if I can't make that something I pay a little bit more attention to, if that's of some benefit. On the 19th, in the groceries category, I again went to Walmart. I don't remember every single thing I bought in this transaction, but I did get some black spray paint. I mentioned in one of my previous videos, I think my week 3 spending, which is here, that I got some mice in my house, and I've never had that happen before. I did get some snap traps, and the first day, right away, I caught 2 separate mice from the same location, and then I stopped catching mice. I didn't stop seeing mice or stop seeing evidence of mice immediately. And I was thinking that perhaps that the trigger that they set off that has the weight thing in it is a bright yellow color. It was designed to look like a slice of American cheese. And my thoughts are that perhaps that yellow is being very noticeable at night and they're seeing that. So I got some black spray paint so I can spray that, cover up that bright yellow color and see if that doesn't trap them. So I did get that, and I got some rubber gloves so that I could clean my stove. I wanted to do some deep cleaning and I didn't want the degreaser on my hands. Those are the only two things that I really remember purchasing on that transaction. I did get a couple of other grocery things. I think I got some orange cinnamon rolls. And I didn't buy a lot for $18.37, but I got more than those three things. And that is the extent of all of my shopping in week 3. Now, by the time I got all of my bills paid in week 3, there wasn't much left for me to spend in week 4. So that's really all that I had the money for. It's also all I had the desire for. I did do some looking online at Joann's to see if I was going to purchase something related to the art, and ultimately opted not to. I didn't need to fill up my gas tank, and thankfully life didn't throw me any curveballs that required a mandatory miscellaneous purchase. So that is it. So let's flip over here and see what that does for my carryover totals. When I create my estimate, I give myself an estimated, very consistent amount of money each week, and that carries over into the month. So this check-in totals is a monthly carryover. I gave myself in my groceries category $140 a week, which was $560 for the month, and that is what we started out over here with. Those two transactions, I spent $46.06. I did have $71.24 left over in that category in my estimate, which means I finish out this 4 weeks with $25.18 left in my groceries estimation. I did not spend anything in dining out, and I'm going to take a second here and celebrate this with you guys. This is 0, 0, 0, 0 in dining out all 4 weeks in September, and the last 2 weeks in August. I officially made 6 entire solid weeks with 0 dining out. You guys, this is so phenomenal for me. For some of you guys, this is no big deal. Of course, what's 6 weeks? That's nothing. Try going 6 months. For me, going 6 days without eating out is huge for me. To have gone a solid 6 weeks, I cannot celebrate this 0 enough. If I go out tomorrow and I dine out for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, I'm not going to feel bad about it. This was a solid win. Now, do I plan on going out for breakfast, lunch, and dinner tomorrow? No. I am now going to try and see how long I can go. Can I make it to 8 weeks of no dining out? A solid 2 months? How long can I really go before I give in? And maybe not just give in. Maybe at some point I will make an active choice to go out, and then it will be an active choice for a quality restaurant where I can get a really delicious, decent meal. We'll see how that goes. But now I'm really wanting to see how far can I get. I had somebody comment, and I'm so sorry I didn't pull up the email to get the name right beforehand, but somebody just commented to me, look how much money you saved by not going out. And yes, I have saved a lot of money. I do have a hard time focusing on that because it's very esoteric now. Like, I don't know how much money I saved because I didn't spend anything. I could perhaps go back and look at this month and see that in my dining out, I spent $169. So, okay, I saved $169. We can probably assume that some of my bills would not have gotten paid this month, or at least one of them would not have gotten paid this month if I had done some dining out. Or maybe we can assume that my bills got paid, but then I had to stand in a food line because I didn't have groceries in the house. So that's kind of esoteric. Like, yes, absolutely, 100%. I saved a ton of money, but there's no way to have that dollar amount, and that makes it a little bit less real to me. Like, I can't say I saved $150. I can't, it's not here in my hand, this amount I saved. It's weird. But I'm thrilled, and I'm going to push forward, and I'm going to see how far I can go. If I get another 3 days, that's fantastic. If I get another week, that's fantastic. If I get another 2 weeks, it's fantastic. At this point, I've won. I've won against myself, and I only ever competed against myself, and I just want to go a little bit better and a little bit better. Anyway, rambling. I'm thrilled. Thrilled, thrilled. Transportation, I did not need to fill up my gas tank at all this week. I have very consistently overestimated the amount of money for my transportation. It's very important to me that I never don't have enough money to get to work. That's number one. I have to get to work. And so the transportation was very, very important. There had to be enough for that. But I'm finishing out the month with an extra $58.37 in this category. Going forward, I'm going to dial that back a little bit. I've been estimating one fill up per week. And I'm going to dial that back for October and potentially November to be once every 10 days. And if that's still too much, then I may dial that back to one fill up per pay period. We'll see how that goes. But I've definitely estimating too much money in my transportation, and I need those funds to be delegated elsewhere since I know that that's too much. My art, there was nothing in this category this month, and there was nothing, that's not true. There was a couple of purchases last month, but I picked this project knowing I most likely had everything I needed for it, and I did. I did twice go and look at, once online and once in person, some things at the at Joann's, and ultimately ended up not needing the things I was purchasing. The act of looking either let me know I didn't need it or let me know I had a substitute that would work. And then in the miscellaneous this week, thankfully, I had zero spending in the miscellaneous category, but I did have $101.87 over the course of the last 3 weeks. So that does finish out in the negative. So at the end of the week, I spent $46.06. I only had $27.74 left in my flexible spending budget from last week, which means I did finish this out over estimate at $18.32 for my flexible spending. Because this is all I have for this week, and it's a short video, I've decided to go ahead and combine this week for flexible spending with my paycheck number 2 closeout. So we're just going to flip over to that. All of my spending is done at this point, and we're ready to close this out. So let's take a look at what that looks like for me. In my income, I estimate, okay, I get paid hourly. I am not a salaried employee. So I take my dollars per hour, times the amount of hours per week, times the amount of weeks per pay period, and then I take out 25% for taxes and insurance. So for me, that's $20.85 times 38 hours times 2 weeks, take away 25%. I have an estimate of $1,188.45. Now, last pay period, I did have one missed punch where I neglected to sign back in from lunch. And last pay period, I was short 4.5 hours. They gave that to me this pay period when it was corrected. It was just added to this check. So when I actually got paid this month, or this paycheck, it was $1,321.83, which was $133.38 more than I had estimated. Obviously, that's not 4 hours worth of work. There was extra, I worked more than 38 hours each of those weeks. And then I have an other line. I never really have other income. I don't have a second job. I don't get child support, and I don't have any investments or annuities where I would be expecting to receive regular payments on that. However, I do have this other line just in case things come in. So I have a way to show that those are coming in. And I did have some stuff come in extra this month. And I'm going to talk about what that is. Unfortunately, we're seeing the in before we see the out that happens later on. But I had one of my grandchildren is starting swim lessons. And before her first, or not lessons, she's on the swim team. And so before her first day at practice, there was going to be some sign-up fees and stuff, and we weren't sure how much that was going to be. I sent $115 out of my income to cover whatever that might be, knowing that that was then going to come back into my income. We use Cash App to send that money back and forth. And my bank keeps a percentage, or maybe Cash App keeps a percentage. Somewhere along the way, when it comes back to me, some of that money is lost in fees. I believe it's Cash App that keeps it because I don't have an actual Cash App bank account. I have a traditional bank account. In any case, what I got back was $112.99 instead of the full $115. That's the price I pay for using that service, and I'm aware of that ahead of time. I'm not going to require somebody else to pay that extra to cover. That's on me. The other part of this was I had wanted to go to a festival, and again, we just saw I didn't have a lot extra left in my flexible spending to go and do anything. I'm somebody who really likes festivals. I really wanted to go to this Apple festival. I asked my son, can I have $30 so that I can go to this festival in case there's something I want to buy or in case I decide to go ahead and eat out there? And he said, of course, you've done so much for me. Of course, I'm going to give that to you. And he sent me 55, but I gave him 10 of that back. Ultimately, I didn't buy anything at the Apple festival, and I will admit to being a bit disappointed in how small the Apple festival was. I expected much greater. I don't know if COVID has impacted that, or if that particular one, I've heard from a lot of locals that particular one has always been very small, and it's only smaller because since COVID. In any case, so I have $44.05 and the $112.99. That is what this is. This $157.03. So that was, of course, $157.03 more than I had expected that to be. So in my estimate, I $1188.45, my actual $1478.86. The amount of income I received that was more was $290.41. The next thing I go over in my closeout is my fixed expenses. I feel like I'm yelling at you guys. Is it coming across the camera as I'm yelling? I'm trying to hurry, so I'm speaking a little bit louder. In my fixed expenses, these are the things I'm required to pay. I don't have a choice in the matter. I don't get to negotiate those fees. If I don't pay them, I end up with penalties. You're just required to do them. I had an estimate of $153.31 for my utilities. You may recall that starting in June, I was playing this game of robbing Peter to pay Paul and playing catch up, and my utilities and my phone were being bumped off and bumped off and bumped off. Last pay period, okay, let me back up a second. I'm a little bit rambly. I apologize for not being concise. In August, I thought I had paid all of the back debt of my utilities. I thought I was completely caught up. It turns out I had missed June, completely missed it. And so I needed to pay June and whatever was going to be coming in September. So I assumed, I had estimated, I wrote down June would be paid on the first pay period of September, and whatever September's would be paid on the second. And I just doubled June's to get my estimate for September. I didn't get to pay June's on my first pay period because of the missing 4.5 hours. So I had to pay that and September's this pay period. So what I paid was $333.25. This was $179.94 more than I had estimated I would be paying this pay period. But I am now caught up. There is nothing I'm behind on I am 100% at zero on my utilities as we have this conversation today. My phone bill was estimated to be $211.50. My phone bill has 2 phone lines, a tablet, and the internet on it. I did have insurance on one phone and insurance on the tablet. I canceled those 2, and then the one phone has finally been paid off, and there's no longer the fees associated to that. So so this $211.50 was the estimate after those insurances had been dropped. What I did end up paying was $209.87. Now I wrote $209.50. I made a error in my writing, but it was $209.87, which was $1.67 less than my estimate came out to be. Now, once my back phone was paid in September's pay period number 1, I was then able to set up my phone on auto pay. So next month, it should be $20 less than this, $209.87. So I am now back at zero with my phone bill. I'm no longer robbing Peter to pay Paul, and I'm no longer pushing that forward into next month. I am now 100% caught up from the chaos that happened in June and July, and that waterfalled all the way into September. I did have a credit card that was $200. That was what was estimated, and that was exactly what came out, so there was no difference there. I did have a subscription for $10.82. That was the estimate. That was the exact, no difference there. And I had this old rent for $73.60. And again, I call it old rent, but it is the cleaning and repairs from the last place I lived. They kept my full deposit and found ways to charge me more. What I was left as the bill is $709. And so that has been broken up into a 10-month pay period at $70.94. Then I've got a $2 money order and a 66-cent stamp that is added into this. And that's what gives me this $73.60. That was the estimate. That's exactly what it was. So there's no difference there. Then my toll roads. My toll roads was estimated to be $198.85. And I've said this story several times. I was in a new to me area. I went to IKEA and I went to the airport. And the airport I went to a couple of different times. This area had toll roads that were not very obvious that they were toll roads, and I got charged fees. Once I realized they were toll roads, I set my Google Maps to avoid toll roads, and inevitably I would get most of the way there and be rerouted onto a toll road, even though I said no toll roads. I got very angry that I was being charged toll roads, most specifically to get to the airport, because I feel like the airport is public access. Like that, everybody needs to be able to travel for whatever reason. And I didn't feel like it was right that that was being behind a paywall, if that makes sense. In any case, I got in my feelings about it. I said, I'm not paying that. You can't make me neener, right? And then I got fees, and then I got judgments, and then I got fees. When I called to finally make arrangements for this, I asked 2 questions. One, is there any way we can reduce this bill and not pay the full amount? If not, that's fine. I'll pay the full amount. It's my fault. The second question was, what was my original charge before all of those fees? Y'all, my original charge was $38.85. $38.85. I got so in my feelings about $38.85, and you can't make me neener, that it went to $198.85. Are you kidding me, Heather? $160? Why are you doing this to yourself? How is that benefiting you in any way? What lessons did you teach them by not paying your bill? Nothing. I punished myself. This is where I tell you, I make mistakes over and over and over again. Ugh. Ultimately, yes, they were able to drop some of those fees, and I could pay $133.85. Now, of this $133.85, $35 of that I have the potential to get back in 6 months' time. Basically, you can create an account with the toll booth company, and you have to buffer that account with $35. And if you don't use any of that ever in 6 months, then they'll give that back to you. If you do use it, they'll send you a bill that says, hey, you spent $7 of your $35. Please bring that back up to $35. Obviously, I don't live there anymore. The chances of me driving through there in the next 6 months are pretty slim. Possible, but pretty slim. So I'm probably going to get 35 of that back 6 months from now. In the meantime, I did pay the $133.85, which was $65 less than I had estimated. If I did not open that account, she still would have been able to reduce some of the fees. But in order to not have an account and have this considered completely paid off, I was going to need to pay $158.85. How does that make sense to me as a person trying to get caught up on bills, right? I'm going to pay $20 more than I am paying here, and I'm not getting any of that back. Of course I'll take the account. That's fine. Give me my $35 in 6 months. That's fine. It's still $65 less. And honestly, if I never get that $65 back, that's okay. I'm sorry, not 65, 35. If I don't get that 35 back, it's all right, because I still paid less. It's still zero. It's still not showing up anymore as a bill. That was a long story. The biggest reason is $38.85. Y'all, don't do what I do. Don't look at me as a how-to, because I could have paid $38.85 and been over and done with this a year and a half ago. So there's that. Then I have this other line. This is brand new, starting in September, to have another line in my bills. And this was created very specifically for what I just did, because that happens pretty frequently for us. I had sent that $115 out of my account, and I needed a way to track that to leaving my account and then track it coming back in. So that's what that was. This $115 was the swim team sign-up fees and whatever else they need, uniforms or whatever. And so that was $115 more than I had estimated. So that kind of, those two basically cross each other out, but they're in there because that's the way that happened. It is mildly frustrating that the coming back shows up in my budgeting before the leaving does, when it happened in reverse, but that's whatever. We can have that conversation and I can explain it and it's fine. So as we do my totals, I had estimated $848.08 as my fixed expenses. What I actually did spend was $1,076.35 in my fixed expenses, which ultimately was $228.27 more than I had originally estimated would be being spent there. Then we go into my flexible spending. Again, this is groceries, dining out, transportation, art, and miscellaneous. I had given myself an estimate of $140 a week for my groceries, which was $280 this pay period. I did spend $369.31 this pay period, which was $89.31 more than I had estimated would come out of this budget. My dining out, I estimated zero, and hallelujah, I spent $0 in dining out this pay period. Transportation, I estimated $80. I spent $34.17, which is $45.83 less than I had estimated I would be spending this pay period. I buy the majority of my groceries at Kroger grocery store. Kroger does have a benefits card that gives you lower grocery bills. It also gives you a lower gas bill, and you get 10, 20, or 30 cents off of your gas at their gas station based on how much you spend in groceries. So I believe when I filled up this time, I was able to take 30 cents a gallon off when I did this fill up for the $34.17. Dining or in art, I gave myself $0. I did not spend anything. In miscellaneous, I gave myself $0. I did have that one transaction in week 3 for $27.50. Again, this was a bucket to soak those walnuts in for the dyeing project and the mouse traps to get rid of these mice that have been in my house. My estimate was $360. My actual was $430.98, which unfortunately was $70.98 more than I had given in the budget for that. Then we're going to carry down my actual totals, which I feel like is fairly redundant until we get to the very last line. We just went over. It's right here in front of us. My income estimate, $1188.45, actual $1478.76, $1478.86, over by $290.41. I love seeing the green there. I like having more money. Fixed estimate, $848.08, actual $1,076.35, unfortunately over budget by $228.27. I say unfortunately, but you know what this means? A bill got paid. I'm fine with that. Nothing in here that caused me to be red is something I'm going to be crying and keeping myself up at night about. Flexible spending estimated to be $360, actual $430.98, which was over budget by $70.98. And that over budget was pretty much in my groceries, and I'm fine with that. I did have money left in that carryover from paycheck number 1. And if spending an additional $89 in groceries means I didn't spend $150 in dining out, I'm fine with that. Right now, these red numbers don't bother me. I'm not upset that they're red. I'm not going to beat myself up. I'm not going to stay up late at night. It's just a color. It's fine. As long as my things are getting paid and I have food to eat and a roof over my head, I am okay. So what does that look like for the total? I had estimated I was going to be under or over budget by $19.63. I was actually over budget by $28.47, which was $8.84 more spending than I thought was going to have. Am I $28.47 in the red in my bank account? Am I overdrawn? No, I'm not, because in paycheck number 1, I did have this $53.62 to carry over. Again, because this utility bill didn't get paid because my wages were less. So I do in fact have about $27, whatever this 53 minus this 28 is, that's what I have left in my account as we close out paycheck number 2. I will say that this pattern has been a very consistent pattern where week 1 and week 3 I spend a lot. Week 2 and week 4 I spend very little. There's very little left by the time I've spent through week 1. So these 2-for-1s at the end of the pay period are probably going to be an ongoing situation. It makes more sense for the length of time on the video, as well as the number of videos that need to come out at that window. Okay, I am done with the budgeting portion of this video. That's a lot of talking, and I'm very rambly. Unfortunately, there's a lot to cover in that. If that's all you're here for, thanks for visiting with me. I do want to go over, I always have this project that I've got going on in the background. This is my joy and positivity that I bring with me into my budget, because I find the budget to be very stressful and negative and discouraging. And I want to have something positive to look forward to. My last video, I did show you the patterns and the tools I was using. This project is done. This project is done well ahead of time, and so I don't really have anything left to say about it. So today I'm just going to go over kind of what's important to me, and that's the amount of scraps and how much did I use and how much do I have left to put into my scrap system and how much really got thrown away, because I don't want to throw a lot of waste away. I want to use as much as possible in as many ways as possible. So that's what this next little bit is about. We're going to talk about what did get used. These were that stack of Halloween fabrics that I had, and I don't know if you can tell, but this is about a third less than it was. I don't have another Halloween project on the schedule, so these will just get put into the rest of my regular stash, and they will stay bundled as the Halloween or as the holiday stuff all in one bundle. I'm not going to kind of mix those in with colors or whatever. So I'm glad that this is significantly reduced. This actually was initially fairly hard to hold in one hand because it was so thick. So I did get a lot of that pulled out of there. Then we have of all of the squares I cut, I do have just this little stack of small things that have to be worked into my scrap system. And my scrap system is just a series of squares and triangles. These are the extra squares that got cut and not used in my oranges. I wanted to make sure I had enough variety. And then this little bit of the black. And so this will get filtered into my scrap system. That's a very small amount of kind of leftover, as you know. For some people, this would be garbage because it's not for this project, and some of these pieces are fairly weird shaped and hard to work with. But that's not the case for me. I will get them into the scrap system and they will be usable and added later. Then this is my favorite part of these twister projects. This project, you sew 3.5 inch squares together, and then you use this 2 1/4 inch tool to cut them back out again. And then you're left with what I call a fishing net with these squares in the middle. And I just think that this is fun and chaotic. I do end up coming back and cutting these squares out and these little tabs. So this little bit will be garbage, this piece here, but I will keep these squares and add them into my scrap system. And so that'll be fun. And this does extend my project time to be playing with these little bits of fabric and giving me more joy and that touchy-feely, tactile spending time with my lovely fabric. So that is where we're at with that. I know a whole lot of people don't really care about what happens with scraps, just throw it away, whatever, who cares? But I care. I don't want too much of our textiles end up in the waste stream, and that bothers me. And so where I can have an impact on what leaves my household, I will do so. All right, that is it for today. Wherever you are and whatever you're doing, please have some fun. All right, bye-bye now.